How's the weather today? Has anyone noticed that there has been an increase in hurricanes, flooding, heat waves, and other extreme climates? So you might be asking, what's next? Within 10 years, we might lose something that is equivalent to every rainforest on the planet. Now, climate change should be something that is in everyone's mind, as it is part of the political campaigns that are run each year. It is part of economic decisions, and it is part of entertainment, used in many stories as a villain. However, people might be disassociating from it, thinking, oh, that won't affect me. However, it will affect almost every person that populates Earth. The scientists around the world have concluded that there will only greenhouse gas emission will only continue to rise as time passes. Things like carbon dioxide and nitrogen monoxide cause the temperature of the Earth to increase by trapping the heat from the sun onto our planet. And this could impact us by causing populations to migrate, reducing resource availability by reducing land that we can habitate, as well as it could shift the economy in great ways with the loss of these resources. However, not just humans and land-based mammals will be affected by this. The ocean will also have huge changes happen to it. And this will cause drastic changes among aquatic populations. We chose this topic because climate change is something that will affect everyone around the planet, and is something that everyone should be aware of. We have accumulated experience by researching this topic and by having previous presentations on climate change in our past. Our group's main goal here is to inform how climate change will affect our lives, why arguments for this are indisputable, and how we can slow the effects. Dylan will be speaking next on the changes and problems climate change will cause.
As Elijah has mentioned, climate change has many crippling elements that tend to build upon each other. I'll explain how climate change around the world affects humans and even us in this room. To begin, climate change will be very expensive to small and large cities around the world. According to a 2018 NBC News interview of Michael Mann, who is the director of Penn State Earth System Science Center, or simply an expert, says the continuation of burning fossil fuels in a business-as-usual manner will cause New York City, Shanghai, Denmark, and most of Florida underwater by the year 2100, with a sea level rise of 6 to 8 feet. To combat this, Florida has already started to implement a plan to try to protect their millions of homes and billions worth of infrastructure, says Jacobs and Hogan, who are tax attorneys who wrote a 2017 peer-reviewed journal on the topic. And they examined how a state should pay to protect its infrastructure against natural disasters and the cost of doing so. Jacobs and Hogan are asking questions that have never been asked before in terms of taxes and the legality of placing a statewide flood tax. For example, if you live in northern Florida out of the flood zones, would you rather pay taxes to help pay for flood-damaged homes in the south? Chances are no one wants to pay for the hundreds of millions of dollars that it would cost to protect their state. Going further, an article by Columbia University written in 2018 uncovers a World Bank report that says over 143 million people, mainly from Latin America and Africa, will soon become climate migrants by the year 2050 from rising sea levels and unlivable conditions. With numbers like that, it's easy to see that the best case scenario would be overcrowded cities, with worst case scenario being mass deaths from food shortages that is a result of strained resources and reduced farmland. Inland countries in the West will also be sharply affected by climate change, as another peer-reviewed health report from 2014 predicts the UK to have a 70 to 90% increase in heat-related deaths between the years 2020 and 2050. Globally, this increase of temperature will also affect the ocean's health in a major way. According to an environmental news organization called EcoWatch and their 2017 report, the warming has already caused half of the Great Barrier Reef to die off in only 27 years. This report continues by saying that NOAA, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, goes further on this point by projecting that all of Earth's coral could be dead by the year 2050. This is important even for us Midwest people who live in the middle of North America, because the reefs generate 50% of Earth's oxygen. For reference, according to an article by the National Geographic, all rainforests only produce 40% of our oxygen. Having just explained why we should all be concerned about climate change, Griffin will now give a rebuttal to those who deny climate change, and then he'll give a solution.
Thank you, Dylan. Continuing on what he said, climate change has been the cause of many problems, but there are still those that deny climate change. The main reason for that is that people still deny it is because the Earth has seen many changes throughout its history, from being tropical to completely frozen over, for long before the existence of humans. While that is true, Earth still does go through its changes. There's still a lot of evidence that humans do have a big impact on the climate as well. This is a problem and there is a problem with companies, big companies that the Guardian states, such as ExxonMobil, offering money to scientists to dispute climate change studies. These scientists then persuade people that climate change is not a problem that we need to worry about. According to the National Center for Science Education, to make the case that climate change is mostly caused by humans, scientists had to consider other factors such as atmospheric physics and the natural processes that happen around the planet. To do this, they use powerful computers to construct models based on physics of the climate system. These models then allow scientists to make predictions and test hypotheses about what affects the climate. These models, which are carefully vetted by other experts, agree that activities of humans, especially the burning of fossil fuels, is now substantially altering the climate. Also, an estimated 3/4 of climate change since the 1950s is due to human activities. Climate change has become a far bigger problem than anyone has imagined. There is still time to fix our mistakes and turn it around. The biggest challenge to overcome is eliminating the burning of coal, oil, and eventually natural gas. We've become very dependent on it, so it's going to be hard to change. But it is possible, though, through new technology and using alternatives such as biodiesel, wind, and solar power. In the meantime, we can also help slow down climate change by making changes in our lives. These changes include infrastructure upgrades, such as buying more insulation to reduce the use of heat, consuming less stuff, which will result in less fossil fuels being used to produce and ship products, cutting down less trees. In the tropics alone, timber harvesting releases 1.5 billion metric tons of carbon into the atmosphere. And we can also unplug electronics that we are using so we don't waste as much energy. Now for Corey with our conclusion.
Thank you, Griffin. As we conclude to what Eli, Dylan, and Griffin have been saying, climate change has and will continue to affect our lives. And while there are arguments for this that are undisputable, we still have time to be able to slow the effects of climate change. This real occurrence is having a huge impact not only on us humans, but also on other species and even the world itself. These impacts will cause people and animals to migrate more inland as ocean ocean levels continue to rise and submerge parts of our continents. The migration of people and animals moving inland could have two different outcomes. We could see the increase of congestion in bigger cities and or decrease in agricultural land for farming, which will affect our food supplies. Not only our food supplies are in jeopardy, even freshwater supplies will become increasingly insufficient. To add on top of the frightening but accurate predictions, we will also see a rise in the amount of people suffering from heat-related illnesses as our climate continues to become warmer and warmer. Already, as the climate and the oceans have become warmer, our coral reefs have started to die, which has and will continue the decrease of the amount of oxygen produced into our atmosphere. Though these predictions sound like they came out of a fantasy, they're very much real, even if some people deny the fact that these outcomes aren't practical. Some would say that it's not, or that it's just Earth naturally changing, but there has been many valid scientific models proving that the issues we are seeing and are about to see are in fact the results from us human beings. The time starts now to try to prolong our wonderful Earth and our next generations of living. As Pope Francis had said, the environmental challenge we are undergoing and its human roots concern and affect us all. Thank you.